Hi, this is Michael Uslan. You're listening to Batman on Film.
We're riding through Gotham with the podcast crew. Bats in us up, yeah, we're on the move. Talking Batman tales, we're telling what's true. Gotham Knight, breaking down each clue. TBOF, bring the heat. Talking Batman, ain't that sweet? Tune in for the crime and lore. Batman animation, we want more. Laugh, the Bane's mighty roar, Arkham secrets and so much more. Dive into shadows, legends reborn through the darkest night. The baddest swarm, TBOF, bringing the heat. Talking Batman, ain't that sweet? Tune in for the crime and lore. Batman animation, we want more.
The Adventures of Batman, welcoming you to the new adventures of Batman.
Welcome to episode 65 of Batmanimation, a Batman on Film podcast, revisiting the animated adventures of the Cape Crusader. I'm senior contributor Javi Trujillo, and joining me is the baker of Boudin Pizza, the top dog of Tabasco, Bill Jett Ramey. What's going on, Bill?
Oh, not much. Not much at all. Just this is time of year where schedule is completely thrown out the window. I'm not sure what day it is. I know it's Monday, but I mean, it just gets to be, Christmas and New Year's Day and New Year's Eve and Christmas Eve and all that combined in the middle of the week makes you don't know if it's weekend or weekday. So it's just, that time of year.
Yeah. No, it's definitely the hectic nature of the season is definitely picking up. We're recording this 2 days before Christmas and just like there's so many things to do. It's like got to hurry up and do this so I can relax. Enjoy the
It's
holiday.
Monday, but it feels like a Wednesday or Thursday,
Yeah.
Like tomorrow is like Friday. It's just and I'm scheduleless for the most part, but still, I got my bearings, usually with, on the regular 7-day work week and whatnot. But yeah, like I said, throw it out the window. I had to remind myself today was Monday and I had the podcast scheduled. It wasn't Thursday and it wasn't a Wednesday. So yeah, so here we are. Here we are talking Batman animation.
Do you have any Batman hopes on your wish list for from Santa this year? Santa or Rachel?
There's nothing that I particularly want that I haven't already have or have pre-ordered. Like I did some pre-ordering here last week. I think I got a couple more of those cows that are coming out from McFarlane. Like I got the Begins.
Nice.
And it's probably the only non-movie one I'll order is the 1939 original cow.
The Detective 27 one?
Yeah. So I got those two.
You haven't gotten any of the full size ones. You're just getting like
I'm getting a little versions, 7-inch. Right?
Yeah. Okay. I saw the box for the Keaton one at like GameStop the other day, and that thing was huge.
Oh, for the full size one?
Yeah. For the full size one, yeah. And I really wanted to pre-order it, but it sold out so fast. And then I thought, and I was like, well, there's not really anywhere in
Yeah.
my office to put it, being that size. But I don't know. I figure if I find the 89 one, if I see it in person, I'll grab it, the small one. But if not, you know, I've got the Hot Toys,
I'm
and they
sure
do a
they're
pretty
out there
good job.
somewhere, you know. I
I've seen the BTAS one at Target
yeah.
a few
I
times.
hope that they do all of the movies. I'm sure they will.
Yeah, that was his goal, I think, was to
Yeah.
do them all.
Because I'd like to put them on a shelf, you know, in order.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that would look good. So yeah, I'll pick those up. I want to say, are there some McFarlane figures that are? I want to say I pre-ordered.
The Noel and the
Yeah,
50s Batman with Ace.
yeah. I ordered them a while back, and I checked the order status, and they show up in January, sometime in January.
Yeah. Like I got my autograph series Noel, and I know Lee doesn't like the figure. But I think it's an improvement over the last time they did. I think it was the page puncher version, but I don't like how they displayed the autograph card. It's hidden behind the figure. Usually
Hmm.
on the autograph series ones, they kind of put the autograph front and center so you can appreciate it, but like it's tucked behind. I can see a little squiggle of a red letter, and that's it. So it's a gold label collection, but I kind of want to open it out of the
Yeah,
box and display the figure and then get like a baseball card protector and display the autograph because you can't see it. And with him being like my favorite modern era Batman artist, like I kind of want to have it out more than just having the toy in the
yeah.
box.
I'm looking around here. I have a couple of Romejo figures. One is I've had for quite a while. It's out of the box. I don't even know who made it, to be honest with you. And it's a pretty
Oh, it's
good
not a
looking.
McFarlane one?
It's not a
Oh,
McFarlane,
DC Direct or DC Collectibles, I think they were back then.
probably.
They
Yeah.
did one. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I
And
passed on that
there's
one.
one that I have, but it's not McFarlane. I don't think it's McFarlane. I'm looking at it right now. It's on a shelf, still in the box. It's hmm. It's Lee, but it's from something. It's a Lee Batman from some, but not like I'm not sure. I should just go get it. All right. Makes for good radio, doesn't it?
It sure does. But this is like the vamping part of the episode, where we do our witty banner and our toy talk that,
Yeah, it is McFarlane. Uh, but it's got a Black Adam
yeah,
thing in the
that's the
back.
the page puncher one, the full-size page
Okay.
puncher. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So I got that one. But
Yeah, I've got that one out of the box.
okay.
Still
So
haven't read the comic that came with it. So,
and I do have
job well
a
done.
Funko Pop that's relatively new.
Yeah,
It's
they
from
did a
Batman the
Batman Damned.
World.
Oh, okay. Oh, you
Yeah.
have that one. Okay. I
Yeah.
had the Batman Damned version. Um, but yeah, I forgot they did that huge box with the world
Yeah.
for it.
And it's like it looks just like the cover where
Yeah.
they even use the shadow, you know, like Batman's head is all black because you know how that looked in Lee's artwork
Yeah.
was in shadow. So yeah, I have that. So speaking of Funko Pops, I don't know if is there been anything relatively new Batman that's
Not really. Just the recent
yeah,
stuff has been like the movie things. Like I saw the
yeah.
Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman with the taser and her mask off the other day.
Okay.
Bane with the Harvey Dent picture
I got that one. Okay.
from The
Yeah.
Dark Knight Rises. Yeah.
And I got Fear Gas Batman from Batman Begins.
Oh, nice. I haven't
Yeah.
seen that one
I
yet.
picked those two up. So yeah. I got so much of this I don't even know what I have sometimes and what I don't have. That's why I order two of something every once in a while. And it just shows up randomly. I'm like, Shit, I must have ordered two. So whatever. Like I got had this extra Adam West McFarlane Batman, classic Batman, and I end up two of them came in, and I ordered two of them at two different times, and so that one's the one I'm giving. There's one of them I'm giving away. You can check it out at Batman on Film if you want. You got till the end of to the 31st if you want to get involved in that. If you're listening, you want to get involved or enter that giveaway. But you got to listen to one of the podcasts. There's a trivia question in there that you have to answer.
Nice.
So, well, I'll throw it out right now in case you weren't aware of that. Go to Batman on Film. You'll check out the details. You can see the actual figure in the box, and you got to email me email me your contact information, of course, so I can send it to you if you win. And the trivia question is, and Javi, if you know the answer, you can tell me off air. Who was the runner-up to play Adam West in the Batman TV series?
Oh.
He later went on. I got a couple of hints. He later went on to co-star in a 1970s variety series on CBS. And also in the 70s, he was part of the cast of a comic book TV show adaptation. So send me that answer. Email me, Jett at batman-on-film.com. Contact information. I'll pick a winner at random on the 31st, and good luck. So there you go. Do you know the answer? Don't say it.
I think that's a wonderful question.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I am waiting for. They just announced a Hot Toys Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
Batman and Robin figures. I am waiting.
I saw that. I saw the
Yeah. And I'm waiting for the Flash Batman to ship, and then I have to wait another month after that, and then I get points from that. So I'm waiting for that to all go through, so then I can use those points to pre-order the George Clooney figure. Because at this point, it's like I've got Batman, I've got Returns, I've got Forever, got the Dark Knight, I've got the Batman. It's like I want the Clooney in there to cap off that era, and it's a great looking figure.
Yeah.
I've always liked that. I've always liked that suit and the variation of not having the yellow oval but having the oval.
Yeah.
And the likeness is spot on. So not my favorite movie, but it's a great looking Batman figure. So
I've really getting off topic here, but the bat suits, there's not many I haven't. I like most of them. There's only a couple I can say. Yeah, I wasn't a fan of that.
The Flash one
suit,
for Affleck.
Oh
yeah, I forgot about that.
From Batman and Robin. It was they took the Sonar suit and just kind of added silver highlights
some
to
reason.
it. Yeah. It's Mr. Freeze and whatever. Wasn't a fan of that one. Even though I have a Funko Pop of that.
Yeah.
That's the only one they released. It was and then I didn't like the Clooney one from the Flash at all whatsoever. So
the Affleck one?
Did I say what did I say? Clooney? Yeah, Clooney.
I was like,
okay.
I was
second Clooney. Yeah, Affleck.
Yeah.
That
one's that one hands down is my least favorite Batman.
Yeah, that's my least favorite for sure. The others, I mean, I dislike that way more than the ice suit from Batman and Robin. So
same.
So, but other than that, yeah, I mean, I've liked most of the live action costumes, including Adam West. So there you go.
Do you think we talked about this before? I mean, Pattinson's going to get a new one, right? You think?
I think he'll tweak it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be a dramatic, drastic or dramatic change in suit because he makes it now. Because apparently he only has one the one he carries around in the duffel bag, and
Yeah.
it's gotten
The one
pretty
that's
beat
battle
up.
damaged. Yeah,
Yeah.
it did get
So
pretty hit in the
yeah.
last movie.
So I'm sure it'll be tweaked.
What
Um,
about when he joins James Gunn's DCU? Do you think I'll have a different one then?
yeah, it'll be blue. Yeah, it'll be blue Batman then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I
I'm
mean,
trolling you.
I know. Yeah, that's interesting to see later on down the line, if and when it happens, the Brave and the Bold, the DCU Batman, how
I'm
what
not
they
even
go
worried
with
about it right now.
costume. I mean, it's not even a thing. It doesn't
Yeah.
exist really, other than uh it was announced, quote unquote, which
It's so far down the road. Like I'm not even gonna
yeah.
there's there's no point getting hyped for it because there's no way to maintain any enthusiasm. It's so far away. So
And before we get to the Brave and the Bold, this series or this episode and the particular episode we're gonna break down, just real give you a chance real quick. What was your take on the Superman trailer?
oh man. Oh man. I am so hyped and pumped up for that right now. I couldn't tell you how many times I've watched that thing. I'm really excited. I must have watched it like 5 or 6 times back to back when it dropped, like just the countdown and everything, and then the next day my daughter and I went to go see Sonic and it played in front of that, and just seeing it like that big, like it looks so epic. And there's a couple things he said that aren't necessarily my cup of tea, like having some Silver Age influences. Um, but I mean that's also kind of tied in with All-Star Superman a bit as it is, but it's not like any Superman movie that we've seen yet. And I like what we did see of the action and his camera choices, and I mean, it definitely feels like a really big picture. And I mean, just that moment when he's laying there like wheezing, and that streak is just coming at him. You see that little black dot of a nose. I got so excited for that, and just I mean, Crypto steals that trailer.
That completely, I don't want to say win me over to the point where I'm just can't wait till it gets here, but I'm definitely went from not interested to very interested,
Yeah.
mainly because of Crypto. I mean, that just got me. That was it. It's all it, there's still some things in it, and there's a whole website. I mean, a whole website, a
I
whole
started it. I haven't finished it. Yeah.
yeah. There's a whole episode of the Social Hour talking about it, but there's still a few things that I'm not wasn't a fan. I'm still not a fan of the non Superman DC characters, and I don't think. Sure, I'm sure they make sense when you see the movie, but still, they're in there because this is a shared universe. That's the primary reason, and I think you could have. I think we'll find out. You could have probably got away whatever plot point they serve. I think you could have done it without including them, and wasn't a fan of the monster, the Godzilla.
The kaiju.
Yeah,
I mean,
monster. That's very
it's
Silver Age stuff,
yeah,
you know.
but it's also really different because I mean, Cavill fought Zod
Yeah,
and Batman and Doomsday, I guess, but like Reeve just fought a computer and again Zod and Nuclear Man. Like we haven't seen Superman deal with something like that in
yeah.
live action, really, not even on Superman and Lois or Smallville. So there's a lot of like firsts I feel like we're seeing in this movie, and I've seen a lot of and you've expressed your views on it too, and about the other characters, and I've seen a few people like I don't know, there's a lot of people in this movie, but it's like it's James Gunn, and like between the Suicide Squad and three Guardians movies and now Creature Commandos, like he's proven he can handle a massive cast and juggle
Yeah.
everything well. Like those last two Creature Commandos with GI Robot and Weasel,
Oh, that Weasel one
like,
was, yeah,
yeah, like those are just rip your heart out in 20
yeah.
minutes, like just really good character work. And he's been working on this for so long and he knows what's writing on it. I'm optimistic that he's going to deliver something. And the fact that, it's already like the fifth high most viewed trailer in 24 hours, like that's impressive that he's done that with this character that, a lot of people have written off. I mean, it's only behind, it's like Deadpool and Wolverine, Spider-Man No Way Home, two like the Avengers Endgame official trailer and the Endgame teaser trailer, and then Superman, which beats out like Avengers Infinity War. So like this trailer's already up there, and maybe it's just me watching it a
I was
billion
about to
times,
say, I
but
think it's,
you know,
yeah.
but I mean that's a pretty impressive feat. 'Cause like I've watched the Batman trailer a bunch too, especially
Mhm.
when we were in lockdown and we had nothing else to go on but that first Reeves look, and that's not on that list at all. So I mean, I'm hoping he can deliver something really special.
Yeah, my
Because
issue with
if not, it's not good.
I don't buy into the, it's like almost every one of these with the focus on Batman. It's always, well, that's a lot of characters. It's always like a criticism. It's a lot of characters. I
Yeah,
mean, it's too many. It's not that, that's not my issue. It's just them being in, actually being in.
yeah, them.
I'm sure the screen time isn't nearly as much as these people who are complaining that they think it is will be. I think it's going to be. I do believe James Gunn is going to deliver a proper Superman film, if you will. You
Yeah,
know,
I
and
think. Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
no, I'm just, but crypto. It just goes back to crypto for me. I mean,
Yeah,
I watched that a couple of times, and then I went in there and hugged my dogs. Laid on the floor, and then come to me and just lay there with my dog. I was like, yeah.
between between the trailer and the finale for Superman and Lois, like, oh man, I miss having a dog so much this month.
I did watch the finale of Superman and Lois, even though
Not seeing the
I
other
I I'd
leading
watched
up
that.
seasons.
I watched season one, and then I just kind of drifted away. It didn't
Yeah,
capture me. Um, I thought it started to get a little bit too Smallville-ish there. Uh, at a point in season one that I just kind of eh. So, but I did watch the finale. I do think that's probably one of the best. Not the finale, but I know the show was really it was a good series,
yeah.
and
Despite everything against it,
yeah,
yeah,
I think it was probably maybe the best Superman since the Superman, the first two Chris Reeves films, and
yeah.
um, even I think I watched most of Smallville actually, but it's hard to say it was Superman because he
Because he
never
was
was
never,
Superman.
yeah,
Yeah, you had that CGI version of him at the last
yeah.
episode. Well, this is
And
really
that's what,
spiraling out of control to a Superman podcast. So
yeah.
go
I mean,
ahead. Yeah.
that's what, made this show so satisfying for a finale because you didn't have like them hiding away the Superman aspect of it. Like
Yeah.
that's what you were waiting for the whole show was at least for him to be in the suit at the end, and you never really got it. And Lois and Clark ended on a cliffhanger with a baby dropped off, so you have no idea what's going on with that.
Oh, I
Um,
forgot about Lois and Clark. Yeah.
so this was definitely um it definitely had more weight. It felt more satisfying. But
I
seeing him with
never,
like crypto at the end was
yeah.
it's like, oh, I miss having a dog. It's been God, forever since we didn't have Ace. So like
I,
and we're renting, so
yeah. I, uh, lost my train of thought is what I did. Golly.
dogs. Crypto.
Forget it. I mean,
Superman
my
and Lois.
yeah. Oh, I forgot. I I never bought Dean Cain as Superman. It just I just never bought into him as being Superman. So I never bought into that show. So anyway, this is all right. Welcome to Superman.
Right.
Superman talk.
Well,
Superman cinema talk. All right.
tying it back into Batman really quick before we move on. Like, I think the complaints of like too many characters originates with Batman Returns. Just looking at like a broad picture of it, like
Yeah.
because Penguin and Catwoman, like that started the whole two villains thing for the
Yeah.
movies, and they pushed Batman out of the picture, and that was intentional on Burton's part because he found them fascinating,
Yeah.
and Keaton
True.
wanted to minimize, Batman's dialogue to make him more mysterious, and like I think that's where the snowball started rolling, with like crowding things with too many characters, and then just people not being able to balance that and losing the main character. Like we're all there for Batman,
Yeah. And
you know.
that's and it was also, and this is still exists today. Um, with Batman Returns was, they picked the villains
Yeah.
and then wrote the story around the villains. We're going to have Catwoman and Penguin in the next one. So come up with like Sam Hamm wrote a first draft and then they kind of completely ditched it and went with the movie we got, but still those two characters were picked. And then the movie was written around it. That's why I always get bugged out. Like, who do you think the main villain is in the Batman Part 2 or whatever? And I'm like, I don't
Yeah.
care. It needs to make sense. Whatever fits the story. It's the story first, which, and Nolan changed. Nolan changed that. He changed that
Yeah.
with the Dark Knight trilogy. I mean, you can make an argument that, yeah, they set up the Joker but you know,
Yeah,
still,
it didn't
it was
it
all
didn't
about
have to go
story.
that way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it didn't have to go. No, it didn't have to go that way at all. So,
It could have just been a wink to year one, to the ending.
yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, so there you go. Hey, y'all, it's Bill Ramey, founder of Batman on Film. Let's take a quick pause in this podcast for these words from our sponsor.
Well, today I'm feeling a little brave, and Bill's feeling a little bold. So we're
Yeah,
finally going to shine the bat signal once again on Batman the Brave and the Bold. Airing January 16th, 2009, Dawn of the Deadman is the seventh episode of season one and was directed by Ben Jones and written by Stephen Melching. And of course, we got Diedrich Bader as Batman, Greg Ellis as Gentleman Ghost, and Michael Rosenbaum, speaking of Superman, former Lex Luthor and former Wally West, shows up as Deadman in this episode. So the plot is trapped in a coffin, Batman must take astral form in order to stop the Gentleman Ghost from raising an army of the criminal undead.
yeah,
So we are firmly in Silver Age territory here.
yeah,
Um, but the pre-credit sequence focuses on Commandy. Are you
yeah.
familiar with him at all?
A little, very little. I know the character
Yeah.
exists, you know? Wasn't it
I
the
know he's
last
in the
boy?
future. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like the future of the DC universe, and there's some apocalypse, and he's like the last boy, and like it's kind of Planet of the Apes-ish because like
yeah,
the animals are like the intelligent species and they
yeah.
talk, and but he's the only human. Um, what were the standouts for this pre-title sequence for you?
I mean, I thought, I thought of Planet of the Apes when I
Yeah,
saw the Statue of Liberty, you
for
know?
sure.
Um, it's just one of those crazy sci-fi DC deep pool opening segments that you get with this series. And that I always appreciate it because, I always say I fancy myself as a Batman historian, an amateur Batman historian. So I like when they pull that out. And, it's like Batman going through some sort of portal to the future. It's just crazy, and there's
Yeah,
a dog man who's a professor. I wasn't familiar with that character. Um, and then like they were like the wolf slash dog villain men who were chasing them. It was just, it was crazy.
We get our first nod to Robin in this show with they cite like Commandy's exuberance, and Batman
Yeah,
says it reminds him of someone that he knows.
yeah,
Uh, for Lucasfilm fans, we get like a Wilhelm scream that, that
yeah,
is in all the Star Wars and Indiana Jones movies. But Batman's in the future because he needs a cure for some virus. Like they don't really get
yeah,
that into it. Um, but apparently he can only find it in this, desolate
yeah,
future. And what I really like, and this goes throughout like the whole episode too, like Batman making it his escape through the time portal. He tells them like to go look over here for something, and basically he sets up a way to help them when he gets back. Like he
yeah,
hides something in the nose of the Statue of
yeah.
Liberty.
Look in the left
Uh,
nostril of the
yeah,
statue. Yeah.
and I'm going to touch on this a few times in this episode. It's very Morrisonian of him to, one of the big things for Grant Morrison's Batman is victories in the preparation, and this is completely that where he set something up for later, and I always appreciate seeing Batman's ingenuity and intelligence on display. So, and then speaking of Morrison, when we finally open up the episode proper, uh, we see Batman's grave. Here lies the Batman.
Hmm.
Um, what did you think of the intro or the opening setup for this?
It was, it was, I mean, knowing that the guest star, if you will, was Deadman, you you figured that, yeah, there's going to be lots of supernatural elements
Yeah.
included, which it is. Like Gentleman Ghost is in it, and you knew that, and then Deadman. And I was a fan of Deadman, like as a kid, because he showed up in some Brave and the Bold. I still have some of those
Yep.
comics somewhere, and probably goes back to my affinity for those old Universal horror movies. Still
Hmm.
anything that was kind of in that realm, I enjoyed. Like I've always thought, and I'm sure someone had probably pitched this at some time. I wouldn't doubt it. If they did, Deadman would be perfect for a TV series. It's kind of
Like a
like
quantum leap.
Quantum Leap. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But more, superhero, and it doesn't have to be like full on super. I mean, I just think that premise could work and make it, a dark. I think it would work on like a HBO series, where it's got a decent budget, and so maybe one day. So there,
If there's one character that Neil Adams is probably most associated with, it's Batman. And if there's a second character, it would be shared between Green Lantern and Green Arrow. And if there's a third option, I think Deadman is would take that spot. Like, because when I picture the Deadman character, I think of Neil Adams' artwork first,
mm-hmm,
with Kelly Jones being like a close second. But I like this episode for the fact that because I associate a lot of these specific eras of these characters with Neil Adams, I like
mm-hmm.
that later on we get this team up of the three of them. And I don't know if that was intentional on the creative's part, but it was really cool to see them all, come together and play around. But like just the beginning, like you've got Batman in a grave that's tamper proof, like not anyone can just get into it, and his uh he's got the utility belt that's already been taken off. It's laying over the gravestone, which looks really cool, and we show the clock and it's like 10:02 on like
Yeah,
Big Ben, and then we flash back to how Batman got there. Like I like the narrative structure of the episode, and just it feels so like classic Batman. Like he's got this line of revenge is a poison that rots a man from within.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, it just it's a lot of fun, and then we get to see nth metal, which is like a big Hawkman thing that powers in some continuities. That's what like powers their flight and their weapons, and that ties in with Gentleman Ghost a lot. Um, but so he has this fight with Gentleman Ghost, and it's kind of one-sided, right? Because of the spectral
Hmm.
aspects of Gentleman
Hmm.
Ghost, like he can't
Hmm.
necessarily lay a hand on him. And eventually Batman falls like multiple times, hits himself on the way down before landing on the ground and passes out.
Hmm.
A- And then he wakes up and he's being buried alive. And it's like it's that old superhero trope, like he was unconscious. Gentleman Ghost could have just killed him right then and there.
Yeah.
But he's gotta bury him alive without his gadgets and then trap like booby trap the coffin so no one can rescue him. But it's like you could have just killed him and that would have been the end
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
episode.
Well, then you wouldn't have the whole story. So there
Yeah,
you go.
it's just one of those things you have to like accept that the villain's ego is so fragile that they've got to create this death
Yeah. There's
trap,
always, yeah,
you know?
exactly. It has to happen. So,
Yeah. Um, but that being buried alive is something we saw in Morrison's Batman R.I.P. So I made that connection, and going back to like his preparation, like his utility belt's gone,
hmm.
but somehow he's got a capsule somewhere that lets him conserve his air for a certain
Yeah.
amount of time,
Yeah. Yeah.
and like it's just the cleverness of Batman, and then he's got his night lenses and everything.
And the whole thing with, you know, he's going to use a Tibetan astral projection of his spirit or whatever else, leave his body. So he's still alive, but then he's living in or there's a ghost Batman who is living
Yeah,
in that realm, and that's how he's able to meet up with Deadman and whatnot. So I thought that I laughed. I mean, not laughed at it like, oh, that's dumb. I was like, that's just so much, this Batman, this series.
yeah. And when Deadman first shows up, like I was confused at first. I
Yeah,
mean, I knew who was voicing him, but like he looks more like the Spectre when we first see him because he's
yeah,
just like a white face surrounded by like these dark, almost greenish
yeah. He's
robes.
like a spec. He's like the Spectre in black almost.
Yeah. Um, and while they talk and like Deadman's kind of explaining to him what's going on, like we see Batman flying, which is
Yeah,
always
yeah.
something unexpected. Um, and then he sees the Waynes appear, beckoning him to the light. We don't really get like a full glimpse of them. It's more like just
Yeah.
silhouettes. Um, but what did you make of that scene?
It's a little heavy, huh?
Yeah.
Um,
Like everything's all fun and games and like we're
yeah,
on this little adventure, but then like his parents show up and they're like,
yeah. You get,
time to rest.
yeah. It's kind of like you thrown into like this serious, you know, moment of, Batman can just concede his life and go on and go wherever you go when you go to the light, and it's just,
Yeah.
it was a little, even with it being like there's Ghost and Gentleman Ghost and Dead Man and like, what were they're like zombie ghost skeleton army of, the army of ghost skeleton people. And it flirts with the kind of fun horror, wink, wink kind of
Yeah.
in a way. This was kind of, it was just, like I said, it was a little heavy thrown in the mix of the tone of everything else.
Well, it stands out, but it doesn't stand apart from the episode for me. Like it doesn't take
Yeah.
me out of the episode, but
No.
like it's what kind of elevates it. above everything else because
Yeah.
while it is kind of like surface level fun, and then you get this moment of, Batman has a chance to reunite with his parents, and you would think that would be it. That would be, happiness for him and bliss, but the mission calls him back.
Yeah.
There's still this crime that's unsolved, and like his
Yeah.
sense of duty really comes through, and and sacrifice really. Um, and so that, takes us back into the adventure. Um, so he realizes they need to find some other superhero in London to help. And it winds up being that Green Arrow and Speedy have been chasing a thief around the world, and
Yeah.
they're
They just so
in
happen to be
London.
in London. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of many appearances Green Arrow makes in this show, which made me wonder, what's your favorite Green Arrow look? Because this is very much a golden age Green Arrow for him
Yeah.
and Speedy.
Uh,
Are you like a Neil Adams, Robin Hood, goatee guy, 70s guy, or a longbow hunters, Mike Grell with the hood?
I guess the hood was a
Yeah,
little, I always thought the Robin Hood thing was kind of a little bit too silly for me. Now,
I
I
can
am
see that.
glad in this series they went with the old Silver Age, look for for Green Arrow. But if I
Yeah.
mean, I'm not a huge Green Arrow guy, but if I had to pick a look, it'd probably be like the more kind of the hooded version, I guess. Yeah.
I used to have I still have it, a print of Neil Adams that he autographed of that 70s hard traveling heroes look. So it is really ridiculous, but just from a nostalgia standpoint, I think that one's my favorite. But I
Yeah.
like I like that this show in particular does it picks and chooses from across like different eras, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like we see with Blue Beetle, like we have a modern Blue Beetle, but then we have a golden age looking Green Arrow. So, um we then go into like Deadman's backstory of being killed at the circus. What did you
Hmm.
think of all the Batman connections that came out of that scene?
Um, like give me an example.
We had he was part of Haley's circus,
Yeah, okay, I got you.
and
Okay.
and it was and it's actually a case that Batman's familiar with and is working on, which I
Yeah,
think is the main thing.
I guess I didn't really take it like that. It was just more I got the Haley Circus thing, but it was more like, yeah, that's the origin of Deadman, Boston brand. I did like oh you bought basically I know who you are, you're Boston brand. I'm working on your case. He's already working on he's been working on the case, which is very Batmanish. So
Yeah.
yeah,
It's and this isn't like the end of like our allusions to Robin, but it made me really want to see how, this version's Dick Grayson would interact with them. Because we've seen other stuff in like the comics of the two of them, and they do have that kind of kinship from being in the circus together. So there wasn't necessarily a place for him, but like I kind of wish Robin was in this episode.
yeah.
Not that we see a lot of Robin in the show, and what we do see is varied in different time periods, but um, the the duo confront Gentleman Ghost, and Deadman now gets his more traditional look of like the red jumpsuit, his circus performance suit.
Hmm.
And there's like this great element of a ticking clock for Batman because they've got to get to him and free him before he runs out of oxygen, before he really dies. And that's where we get like what Gentleman Ghost is really after. What did you think about that aspect of it, of his plot?
I mean, I don't know what other kind of plot you would have with Dead Man, Gentleman Ghost, and Batman being dead but not dead. Had a countdown to before he really was dead, and had to use
Yeah,
again, like most of these episodes. I know what I'm gonna get going in,
yeah.
so my level of acceptability is much higher than it is with other things Batman, especially live action, in live action.
Well, Gentleman Ghost wants these artifacts so he can go to like this crypt and resurrect this army of the criminal undead. Which so because we just recently talked about Cape Crusader, which also had a Gentleman
Yeah.
Ghost,
Mm-hmm.
like, and that was more like about the aristocracy of the character
Mm-hmm.
and being against the poor. Like we have two different, very different interpretations of the
Yeah.
character. Like he's still a spectral form and
Yeah.
has supernatural abilities, but like the motivations were very different.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have like a preference for which one you liked better?
Um, Probably this one from Brave and the Bold, and that's only because, or mainly because, that was one of the few episodes, or like two episodes that I don't say I didn't like of Cape Crusader, but I thought were didn't fit,
Yeah.
and that was one of them. Was
Yeah,
the
it
Gentleman Ghost episode.
yeah, like those like I like that episode, but it definitely feels like an outlier in the series.
Yes, yes.
But I don't question him in this show at all. Like it feels perfectly acceptable and not out of place. Because I kept waiting in the Cape Crusader version for them to not Scooby Doo it necessarily, but like have some tangible connection
I thought that was going to be
and
something that's would
to
bring it
explain the supernatural and that it
to
was
bring it
science
down,
instead.
bring it
Yeah.
back to the grounded level that
Yeah.
80% of the series is, you know. So yeah, but this one, like in this episode with on the Brave and the Bold, I mean, yeah, I get what this series is all about. So this makes there's no feeling of like this doesn't fit with the rest of the episodes. It absolutely does fit with all the episodes of this
Yeah.
series.
And we Deadman then takes over Batman's body once Green Arrow and Speedy are able to dig it up, which is kind of fun to see. And we get like this great action scene of Green Arrow and Speedy fighting the skeletons. And there's like this first person shot of like Green Arrow taking out everybody. I thought it was a lot of fun. And and then Speedy gets possessed by Deadman. Um, because obviously Deadman gives Batman back his body.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and for me, like the fight just conjures up like a lot of the fun I had as a kid watching Batman 66. Like this show doesn't necessarily go for like the bam, biff, pow. Like
No.
those aren't on the screen, but you get like those moments when they freeze the animation a little bit
Yeah,
and
that's
kind
that I'm
of
about to say.
focus.
That's their version of that,
Yeah.
you know?
But there's something about like watching the West show as a kid. Like I always looked forward to the fight scenes and like it doesn't seem like anyone's really getting hurt. There's never any blood or broken bones. It's the complete opposite end of the spectrum of like the fight in the warehouse in BVS,
Yeah.
right? And it's fun Saturday morning kid Batman stuff. And just the free for all that we get in this big fight. Like it feels like watching it again this morning, like it just took me back to, watching reruns as a kid. And then you get like that holy Speedy taking the place of Robin is like holy
Yeah.
involuntary acrobatics.
Mm-hmm.
Like were there any standouts for the fight for you? Did it conjure up anything?
Um, I mean, now that you bring up, it's very much it has the same vibe as the 60s fight series, the 60s series fight scenes. Now, when I watched it as a kid, that show was dead. That was as serious as the Batman is to me now, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a little bit of watching that, and I think that's one of the reasons I enjoy this series so much is the nostalgia aspect of it, and it takes me back to those days of watching the 60 series after school on rerun when it was on reruns, So
Yeah, we've talked about this a bunch. It's just I love there's so many different aspects and shades to Batman that the character can pull off. You know, this is just one of them. Like, it's a perfect example of just how he works in so many different
You
situations, be it,
can't, you can't do that with. He may be the only character,
yeah,
comic book character, superhero, because it's just look at Superman. We talked about Superman earlier. It's so rigid of a character that if it's hard to deviate from to try to do something different. You know what
yeah,
I mean? Man of Steel tried to do something different, which I like Man of Steel quite a bit. I mean, I've said that
yeah,
many times. And I got what they were doing, but it did not appeal to the general audience, you know? And you want to stay in that Christopher Reeve vibe type interpretation, but you don't want to, but you can't do it exactly like that, or it's just that you're just
or it's
copying the Christopher
too,
Reeve. It's
yeah,
too on the nose. So Batman, fortunately, has a can be done differently, and people accept it more readily than with Superman. Like, even like I was when it really dark with Superman and the old DCEU or whatever in the hell you want to call it. I mean, I just thought some of the ideas that they were going with Superman were ridiculous,
yeah,
and just too far off. But Batman, even with animation, it's just Superman is just in one. It seems like it's you got to hit. There's a sweet spot with Superman, and if you don't hit the sweet spot, you know, it may not be. You may not. People may not take to it. With Batman and I'm talking about different forms. I mean, especially in animation, because Batman has been so much different in the comics
yeah.
historically. You know, Superman has been Superman for the most part in comics. There's not a huge amount of deviation in the character. Now you go back to the original. We're getting into Superman. It's now a Superman podcast again.
Well,
The original incarnation he
yeah,
was a depowered, not this all powerful person that he was, and he was also like a social crusader.
yeah.
He was a little bit of a vigilante, kind of a not I want to say dark character, but it wasn't certainly the Boy Scout that
Yeah.
he's been for
There was
most of
some
his existence.
there was an old Action Comics issue I read recently where like these workers got trapped in a mine because of unsafe conditions and Superman frees them, but then there's like all these rich people who own the mines are having a big party and he like takes them all to the mine and traps them in there so they know how bad it is and then like, change the working conditions going forward. Like that was like old school Superman,
Yeah, yeah.
you know. But like something like Batman and Robin, which we mentioned earlier, like it is not even close to being my favorite Batman movie. Um, but it's still Batman. Like it's not my
I
preferred interpretation, but
Yeah, exactly.
it's capturing the essence of a specific era, which may not be like my favorite era, but
Yes.
it's not inaccurate in how it portrayed it,
No,
you know?
I've said before that I can make an argument that Batman and Robin is like one of the most comic book accurate. You can really get down to the
Yeah.
comic book accuracy
Yeah.
as far as tone and everything. I mean, it is very much, you know, late 50s,
Yeah.
60s, early to mid 60s Batman, you know?
It wasn't, the right movie for the time,
No.
but I mean it is true to the character in a lot of different
I will
ways,
say, and I'm
you know.
talking more about fans' acceptance of
Yeah.
the different Batman's uh the various versions of how Batman can be. I think in live action, Batman works best grounded and serious. Yeah. And I think that's what the general audience, I don't know if you can pull off a straight up Silver Age with a Batman in live action with a like the Brave and the Bold.
Yeah.
Would not work in live action.
The Brave and the Bold being the show we're talking about.
The show.
Not the upcoming,
the movie
that
may
be
happen.
Called that.
Yeah, it could be. It may be if it's called that. If it happens, so yeah.
So without the artifacts get destroyed, and without them, the Ghost Army turns on Gentleman Ghosts, and there's some kind of justice there, and because Deadman's been so instrumental, like his whole thing, this whole episode is like he's never been offered the light. He's never seen that light at the end of the tunnel to go to. And so once the ghost is defeated, it presents itself to him. And we see like his face glow, and then that's the end of it until like 3 months later. And Batman's in yet another death trap. What did you think of the ending?
Well, I hadn't seen this episode in a while, so I forgot. So when the light appeared for Boston Brand, I thought, was this just a one-off with this character? Did we ever see him again? And then when it went to 3 months later, I went, oh, I bet he comes back. And I'd forgotten. Yeah, he does come back, and he says basically, you were right. I have these powers for a reason, and I need to use them for good or whatever. So I don't recall. Do we see Deadman again in this series?
Don't remember either.
Yeah.
I don't remember if it's just like that cameo, if he's in that cameo at the end of the show.
Yeah.
Or if he pops up again. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But, taking it back to like Batman and like how deep this episode gets sometimes. Like without Batman seeing his parents early in the episode and turning away for his purpose, like without that inspiration, like Deadman doesn't have that. If Batman doesn't do that, Deadman doesn't then go do and what he does. And like there's just a little bit more to this episode than being like a silly fun romp. Like there's some genuine like pathos and empathy.
If like a kid watching it, if you're a kid, I think you very face value,
Yeah.
If you're adult, there's a lot of underlying
subtext,
seriousness, a little, a serious nature to it. I think that's it keeps it from ever going total camp, and where the ridiculous aspect of it is to be laughed at.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, this isn't an episode. I know I've seen it before.
Yeah.
But it's been so long, and it was fun to come back to it with, a fresh set of eyes and the passage of time, and just like this isn't one of the standouts for me when I think back on the show, like
Music Meister and
like Chill of the Night or
Chill of the
anything.
Night. Yeah.
Yeah, but like this is a really strong episode.
Yeah.
It just kind of flies under the radar.
There are some like there's the standout episodes of this series, and I think a lot of the other ones just are under the radar. They're really good.
Yeah,
they're really good. They're just under the radar, and this is one of them. I think it's under the radar episode.
Yeah, if you're listening to this and you haven't seen this episode, buy the DVD or Blu-ray, go to HBO Max or whatever it's called this month, Max, and give it a watch. Like it was really entertaining.
Mm-hmm. It was, and like I said, I liked the Deadman character since I was a kid, so of course I enjoyed this episode, and they, They took it was very much the kind of stories you read in the comics with Batman and Deadman, but it was also there was another. They kicked up the level of by bringing in Gentleman Ghost and making it more of a supernatural type romp. Fighting this army that the Gentleman Ghost had created of ghost skeleton zombies and stuff. That was a little different. It was like when Batman was in Deadman was in a Batman comic book story, like Brave and the Bold, usually the comic book Brave and the Bold. It was very Quantum Leap like.
Yeah.
I wonder if Quantum Leap, people who created Quantum Leap, I wonder if they took that Deadman was an inspiration, for that. I just now thought of that. So anyway, whatever.
Well, I think that's going to do it for this episode, Bill. Any we may it's the 23rd. We may squeak in one more before the year is
Yeah.
out. But
Yeah.
but if not, any thoughts about this 85th year of Batman? And
Oh, that reminds me that there definitely needs to be a show recapping this year of Batman. And I had put it on my list that I was going to try to do it and just like get everybody to come on and record like I don't know, 5 to 10, 8, 10-minute segment with me and then just edit them all together instead of making
that'd
it
be cool.
a big round table. That way people
Get
don't have
people in.
people
Yeah.
don't have to spend an hour of their life, especially this time of year.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know what? I'll save it for that.
Okay.
I think it's been a good Batman year. I mean, Joker 2 notwithstanding. But with Cape Crusader and Penguin, I mean, how do you top that? How do you
Some
top
really good
that?
comics too this
Yeah.
year. I mean, Batman and Detective I know have been varying degrees of quality for like you and Pete and Lauer, but
Mm-hmm.
we've gotten some good Black Label books like First Night.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was gonna say Gargoyle of Gotham, but no. The only issue of that comes out in 2 days.
Yeah.
So
That's the
yeah,
only one this year, correct?
that's the only one this year.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The last
That's
I checked it, the last review I wrote was December of 2023 for that
that
book.
is nuts.
So yeah.
Did I tell you DC contacted me and they're pulling a quote from one of your reviews
Really?
for
Yes.
promotional purposes.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know where or the form this is coming in, but they asked permission. I said, yeah, sure. Take anything you want for any
Oh,
of our reviews. Yeah.
that makes my year. That has been
Yeah.
like my dream. So that's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, DC, for letting us have access
Sure.
to these
Yeah.
books early, man.
Yeah.
It's been a treat. And it's been I've had a really good year reading Batman comics, especially with the all-in stuff. I've been loving the new detective arc and Batman and Robin I've been really enjoying too. So
Think probably, and I know like Buddha in Pockets, he will disagree, and even Lauer, I think, but like the highlight of Batman comics for me probably might have been Absolute Batman so far.
yeah. Oh man, that third issue, that was good too.
Yeah, yeah, it was. Yeah, you can read my review of it. It came out
Yes.
last week. So
Yeah.
yeah, if you're listening, check that out. And that's all I got for its plug. Batman on film. And yeah, I think I got to get this rolling on this idea that I had written down about in end of the year podcasts and that form that the format I wanted to use. So yeah, stay
Yeah,
tuned
it's a
for
good
that.
idea.
I'll get it going. I'll get that rounded up and out before the new year.
Yeah, and you can obviously go to batmanonfilm.com BTBATB.com as well for me to read comic reviews. This last week I had Catwoman and Batman and Robin Year One, Number 3, which is by Mark Waid, and that's a really good retro series. It kind of lines up with World's Finest, at least in terms of the era, like it's a retro series. This week, the aforementioned Gargoyle of Gotham, number 3, and the final issue, this is appropriate, of Batman the Brave and the Bold, which was an anthology series, which they weren't team ups, but it was just Batman and then like other character short stories. So the final issue of that comes out this week. Oh, you're muted, Bill.
Sorry about that. Was that planned, or was it going to be a finite? Was there a finite run?
When it was announced, it was ongoing. Like they never said it was a limited series or anything. But it started off, with that Tom King Joker story. And I kind of thought when they announced it that it was going to be an ongoing for Tom King, but that guy's got so much going on anyways, especially with DC Studios now.
Yeah.
But it just became like this rotating arcs, and a lot of it had Batman black and white stories, which are always a lot of fun. So, but that era is coming to an end once again this week. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, head to BatmanOnFilm.com. We got all sorts of Batman goodness there.
All right. Well, have a good holiday the rest of the year.
Yeah. Happy holidays, and I hope everyone's had a good 85th year of Batman.
Yep.
And with that, if we don't squeak in one more, happy 2024, happy New Year for 2025, and we'll have announcer Rachel take us out.
Thanks for listening to Batmanimation, a BatmanOnFilm.com podcast revisiting the animated TV and film adventures of the Caped Crusader. Follow Batmanimation on Twitter @Batmanimation. Follow BOF on Twitter @TheBatmanOnFilm. Follow Jett on Twitter @BatmanOnFilm. For Jett and Team BOF, I'm announcer Rachel. Batman on Film, authoritative, definitive, the original. Established in 1998.